Pisador. Actually, the estate's called La Mission. And he will begin, and then we'll move to Emilia-Romagna. So welcome. Please keep your video and your microphone off. During this, we'll have a couple of videos in between. This time, the tech should be pretty good. So enjoy. Nico?
Hi. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Chile and to the place of Tomenelo, where we produce the Pisador wine. Just to let you know, we are in the central part of Chile. The region the region name is Maule, and we are about 350 kilometers south of the capital, Santiago. The place where we are, it's called Cauquenes, and it's very famous. It's a very long history in making wine here. And there are many very old plants engrafted, and we're talking about very old, like 100 and 200 years old and more, of mostly Pais variety. And this place, in terms of wine region, is called Secano Interior. Secano Interior because the area, it is between the mountains of the coast called Cordillera de la Costa and the Precordillera, the mountains before the Andes mountains. So it is a very here it's very famous of making wine. It's very good for making wine from so long time because the Cordillera de la Costa protects us from the very cold Pacific currents. So, and we are also protected from the Andes. So here we are able to cultivate the vines without irrigation. That is very common in Chile, and in a natural way, also because the climate is, we could say, like Mediterranean, like we have good rains in winter time, and the climate is, the difference between day and night is very it's good difference of temperature. In particularly in Maule region, we have very dry and warm summers, and so the wines that comes from here usually are quite extracted, quite strong in terms of color, in terms of alcohol, and so this gives us the chance to try to produce a long aging wine. So with maybe Carl can show the map now, just to giving you a chance to see what we are. We have a map of Chile, and you can see where Cauquenes is. Yes. So all these yellow and purple red regions are, it's where the wine is cultivated in Chile, and particularly the purple red is where the Pais variety is cultivated. And you can see the Maule region, and there is the city of Cauquenes. So we are not far from the ocean, but protected by the mountains. We, Pisador is a project between me and Elena Pantaleoni from La Stoppa, and we buy grapes from farmers here. And of course, we ask to the farmers to cultivate the land in a proper way, without chemicals, and in a very natural way. Pais is a very strong and variety, so it's good to, you're able to cultivate with not a lot of nothing. I mean, just give sulfur twice a year. And the idea of Pisador is try to make long aging wine with Pais, because until now we can say that with Pais is known for pipeño wines that are usually short maceration, low alcohol, easy drinking wine. And there are very few like for long aging. So the idea was to select a vineyard, to work very well with the vineyard, and to make a good job in the cellar. So maybe Carl can show you the vineyards now, so you can see how old and the place. So we keep working the land with the horse by hand, And yeah, these vineyards are about 150 years old. Yeah. So this place where we pick the grapes, it's called Coronel de Maule. Coronel de Maule, it's about 30 kilometers from our cellar, where I am now. I couldn't do the video from there because there is no line. And Coronel de Maule, it's nice because it's just on the mount. The altitude is not so high; it's 300 meters, but it's just on the Cordillera de la Costa mountains. So we are not far from the Pacific, but protected. So the cold comes at night, and this is good because, as I told you, Maule, it's a very warm region, but also the sun is strong. So we were able to make a good balanced wine. I mean, we keep freshness even if the wine it's really extracted and strong. So this is our cellar. So it's a very, very old cellar and very typical from Maule here. And we keep working the wine in this boot tank called lagar. We have 4 of it in the cellar. Yeah. So all the grapes comes here we pick the grapes by hand and comes here in the 15 kilos boxes. And then we start working the grapes up here on this wooden called coligüe. It's kind of is and you're able to see how it works. Okay. Yeah. Yes, we do it by hand on top of the saranda, and the wooden tank is down. Yeah. So the grapes are gently pressed. It is not the entire fruit that goes there. So this is the typical tradition from Maule, and so are gently pressed. Some of the grapes sometimes goes inside full, very few, and then we start the fermentation. It starts naturally, of course, spontaneous fermentation, and we keep fermenting, at least fermenting for 15 days more or less. It takes generally between 10 and 15, depending on weather conditions, depending on the year, of course. But we keep the grapes macerating for a long time in order to extract more, and with the idea of making a long aging wine. So this is so after that we don't do a lot of foliage. We don't push a lot because, as I told you, here we are in a warm region, so the grapes, when are correctly mature, comes with its own strength. So we don't want to extract more than what the nature gives to us in this territory. Of course, it depends. This is an idea of the wine. It depends on the vintage and so on. Then after 30 days, we just rack. We rack and we use old barrel like that. We have some barrique, some tonneau, 300 liters, and we keep the wine there for 1 year until next harvest, and then we bottle, and we keep the wine in the bottle for 1 year more. So this for of course, to try to make quality wine with the Pais variety. Pais is a variety that arrived here in Chile with the Spanish missionaries around 1550. So it's been like nearly now 500 years that it's cultivated in Chile, and it's very homogeneous. As you saw on the map before, the green-purple regions where Pais is planted, it's about 400 kilometers of Chile. So it's very homogeneous. Nowadays, 10% of the vines cultivated in Chile are Pais. So even if it was like for a period, because of the new varieties coming from Europe, was kept apart or just for making a simple or not quality wine, still has the 10% and still is homogeneous. So we can say that it's considered it's one of the most important variety in Chile, and sometimes a variety of the Americas, because the Spanish not only brought the Pais here in Chile, but also to some in Argentina, where it's named Criolla Chica, and then up to Peru, and then also to Mexico and to California Mission. So it's the grape of America, we think. This is our bottle. Maybe some of you haven't seen yet, because it's a small production from us. We do 5,500 bottles, and we're very, very happy with that. If I can say, if I can tell about some features about the Pais in general and Pisador, it's a kind of fruity, smoky wine with some rustic tannins, and it's I don't know what is the message, and it's an aging wine. I mean, we don't use any sulfur, we don't use any sulfide and so on, and so it keeps in the bottle, and it's alive. So it's I mean, it's fun, and it's wonderful to keep the bottle there and enjoy after how many years we don't know, because we don't have a lot of example of long aging Pais in Chile, still not. We are now in United States. You have the 17 vintage, and we're starting selling the 18 now from the cellar. So after 1 year and more in the bottle, and 1 year in the and tomorrow we're gonna bottle the 19, and the 20 is here inside. And we keep working, and we're happy with the job, and that's it.
Nick, one thing, could you talk a little bit about the 2020 harvest, which you just completed a month and a half ago?
Yes, I completed like half of March. Yes, the 2020 harvest, it was very, very dry here, so was very, very few fruit, not a lot of fruit on the plants. Just to let you understand what we can say in quantity, from just one plant, we have a range from 800 grams to 1 kilo and 400 grams per plant of fruit. So this year was dry, and was warm, not the warmest. The warmest until now was 17, and it was very, very good quality fruit, in my opinion. So this is why I was very, very simple in the fermentation. The fruit came here with a very good maturation. We harvested on the 7th of March and 14th of March, so quite early, quite early. But it was very, very anticipated everywhere. But the fruit was keeping some acidity, keeping some freshness, and but in my opinion, of course, the wine it's in the barrique from just 2 months, and still very. It's not. I mean, it's still very early to talk about. But what I can feel now, it's going to be a very, very good vintage, very balanced vintage. What I can feel now, yes.
Great. Thank you, Nick. We'll be back to you a little bit later on.
Okay.
But we're going to go over to Elena and Nico. in Lo
Okay.
Stoppa. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks to you.
Nico.
Hello? Ciao.
Hello, welcome. Thanks. Everybody's here now. We had a great visit with Nick. So we'll let you begin.
Yes, we prepared a video to share with you since, see, the line here is good, but around the house and the vineyard is not so good. So, Carl, whenever you want to share the video, and then we will answer to the questions. There are like 3 videos, I guess, Nico? And so at the end of each video, there is a little space for questions or to see each other, to see us again here. Carl?
Yeah, hold on.
Vuoi dire qualcosa?
We planted flowers today.
Nico, you're now unmuted and your video is on.
Sì. Si
I'll get
vede?
a special look inside Nico's iPhone.
It is me and Nico
Hi.
here on the tower of La Stoppa filming and try to explain you where we are and all our characteristics. So, as you can see here the entrance of La Stoppa and we are towards north. So you can see these are the first hills. There are all the flat area. And there are like 3 small valleys. One here is called Val Trebiola, and that's why the name of the wine. And there you can see those 2 vineyards are also our vineyards, are the only one on the other side of the main road down there. And then there is this like hill, and then we go down where there is this forest, and this is where there is Rio Stoppa, that means a small river, very small river called Stoppa. Then we go up again, the other vineyard, and then at the end of the property is called the Rio Finale. The house that you can see there is called Macchiona. So when my father bought the estate in '74, there were different lots of land, and one was called Macchiona, and now my sister-in-law is living there, and we have vineyards around the house. And the other one was La Stoppa. La Stoppa is a lieu-dit, so it's a name of a place. In Italian we call it a toponimo. And here, these first vineyards you can see close to the house. This one, where you can see that there are many plants that are missing, is Semyon, is one of the oldest vineyards that Ageno planted almost around 100 years ago. Back there is a little bit of Mourvèdre that we planted in '97 just to make like an essay. We liked it to try. And the last 2 rows, but there are really very, very few plants, is Grenache. There is Barbera there, and on this side of the road, this is a Massal selection of a very old vineyard that was called Bordeaux. And there are 3 different Bordelaise varieties, minor Bordelaise varieties, Carmenère and other 2 that are unknown. So here is difficult now to see that the color of the soil here. The soil is mainly clay, very red clay, very rich in iron and very poor in nitrogen. And this type of soil, together with our climate, which is very dry, is very suitable to make long aging wine. And this is the first reason why we make very long aging wine. And and not the sparkling red and white that are very common here in the area. So our area, Piacenza, is down there and is the last province of Emilia-Romagna. In town there is a bridge over the Po river, and on the other side is already Lombardy. If we look there on my left towards west, there is Oltrepo Pavese, so Lombardy, and just after is Piedmont. And so talking about wine, we are closer to Piedmont, the lowest part of Piedmont and Oltrepo, so Barbera and Bonarda, and less towards the other province of Emilia-Romagna. So for example, in our province it's not allowed to produce Lambrusco. If we see on the other side of the tower and of myself, we are towards south, and if we go on this road, we are at about 100 kilometers from Genova. So we are really in a small corner of Emilia-Romagna, but traditionally, philosophically closer to Piedmont, to Lombardy, and to Liguria than to the rest of Emilia-Romagna. So if we see on this side, there is the vegetable garden where we will go soon after this video, other vineyards, and forest, fields. What I like of this place is that we are very close to Piacenza, to Milan. In 1 hour, if we want, we can be in Milan. But we succeeded to keep this place very natural, so we don't have just vineyards. It's not monocultural, this area. As you can see, we have forest, we have fields, we have vineyards. So you can make, you can be a farmer. So you can be, you can farm in a more natural way. Farming is different than nature. There is always something that we humans bring, but you can do it in a more natural way. So if you can see, the landscape is all forest, fields, vineyards, and houses, not many. Okay, so we go down to see the vegetable garden and the other vineyards. What do you think, Nico?
Andiamo.
Andiamo.
Ciao.
Okay. I'm sorry for all these problems, technical problems. We arranged, we thought it was better, but it wasn't. Eccoci qua. Welcome to our garden. Was just down there, just for family. But then 3 years ago, also talking a lot with Mirta from Foradori, and I also was visiting her in Montreal when she was there for her experience at Jean-Martin Fortier place, La Ferme de Quatre-Temps. The idea was to have a bigger vegetable garden for us, for our agriturismo, for my employees, and for our small community of people. And my idea of La Stoppa has always been not just vines, but also like my dream, like a center of culture on farming. So when I had the occasion during my trips, I also visited stone barns up state New York, or Ballymaloe in Ireland. And this is a little bit my idea of having like a farm where I can make culture, and through our products, so vegetable, vines. Now we have, from last year, we also have bees, so we make honey. And this is something that passionates me a lot. So here we started like a few months ago. Now we don't have yet the tomato, aubergine, zucchini, These are all things that will come in the next weeks. So we have other things like onions, chards.
Three
You know
different
better
types of
than-
chard,
You know
a
better
whole
than-
row of carrots, many types of tomatoes, spinach, coriander, all different types of lettuces. Down there, there's artichokes, cardoons, squash, and things from last year that are coming back again, and fennel, of course, as well.
Kale.
And kale, yeah.
Okay, so shall we go in the vineyards? We can go here, Nico. Yes. So this year we bought a new machine to move the soil. This is the first time we do it since 78. So we will see the effect of this choice in the next 2 years. The reason why we did it is are multiple reasons. So one is to take out the grass without going with a machine that cut the grass, but just a very superficial movement of the.
So it tills the soil roughly about 5-6 centimeters.
Yes.
Just to break up the grass and the.
Yes, and then we don't make any cover crop, but this is the idea of using the cover crop you do and to put it again into the soil. So it's a very fast way to take away the grass, and so we will see. But you can see that it's a very superficial. We don't want to move that much the.
And stuff has stayed and grown back already.
Yeah, but it's fine. I mean, we'll see. So here, this is a vineyard of 24 years old. Let's see, 24 years. This is a very special, at least until now, we have a lot of grapes. It's very early to know how it will be the harvest, but by now the weather has been very good. We had rain, luckily, on last Saturday, so by now it's fine. Today we are making the third treatments of copper and sulfur for mildew and oidium, and nature this year is going very, very well. And we have been so much time here, myself and Giulio, that we had time to
Observe it.
observe it, to think also of making some changes like this machine, and by now we are very happy. And so the pruning system here and almost in all the state is guyot, simple guyot. So that means that we leave one single wooden cane. You can say that.
Yes.
And then from each, so we cut quite short, so about 7-8 gems, and yeah. So it's about from 5,000 to 6,000 plants per hectare. So quite narrow. And yeah, now the job we are doing is take away, to clean this part, spollonare, no?
To remove with like a weed whacker that kind of comes below and removes all the unwanted vegetation, but also the gems that are growing off the base of the plant.
And then to put I tralci
The shoots
dentro in those two
between.
double thing. So palizzatura tralci it means. Okay, so we go in the cellar. So now we will start to go in the cellar. What do you think? Fine, Carl?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the cellar. Bye.
I hope not to give you motion sickness, but I thought I'd take you down to the cellar to meet Elena. So this cellar was built by Elena's father when he bought the estate. Before that, the space that we use for agriturismo was used as the original cellar. And here's where we meet Elena.
So, this is our cellar for aging the bottles and aging the wine in wood. This is a little library history of our bottles. And so during time, from my father, Barbera, Macchiona, Rosso d'Ancarano, that then it was Coturne and then Trebbiolo. Pinot was the Pinot Noir. Bordeaux was La Stoppa. Ageno, that's why we name it Ageno, because we had old bottles called Ageno. And also talking about the labels, for me, since I inherited the estate, I think that my real job here is to be like a guardian and to keep and maintain, and also so through the labels, I never wanted to change that much the label, the image of my bottles, because it's very short in time. If you think at the life of an estate, the fact that I'm here or Giulio is here is a very short and casual also. So I would like my goal is that the estate survives me. Hopefully, there will be some other who will take over my job. No? And so also in the choice, in the choosing the label, always more or less the same image. So here we are under the soil for on 3 sides, so it's easier to keep the temperature consistent. And we have the bottles here, and we walk a little bit to see the wood.
And the dogs.
And the dogs that always follow us.
So it is 16.9 degrees Celsius.
So here is where we age most of our wines. Out of Trebbiolo, all our wines are aged in wood. So big barrels, big tanks, and barrique, used barrique. So why wood? Because in wood, wine can breathe. So the process is we pick up the grapes when they are ripe. We are not looking for overripe, but not also pick them when it's still green. Then they are vinified in tank of concrete tanks or inox tanks upstairs, and then all the wines, not Trebbiolo, but all the other wines come down here. So we make quite long maceration in order to extract the most from our grapes, and then the wine often continues his fermentation during the winter, during the spring in wood, because often our fermentation doesn't finish in the tank because we have less nitrogen in the soil and then in the grapes, and so sometimes we have difficulties to finish the fermentation. So the wine comes down, finish the fermentation here, takes maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, it depends on the harvest, and the vintage, on the wine. We would like always to bottle the wine when it's dry. Sometimes we have a small sugar residual, but it's not so evident because we have very powerful wines. So during this period, now you see, can you hear it? This is fermenting. During this period, normally the volatile acidity also raises up a little bit, and so this is the profile of our wine. No? big body, structured, but good drinkability because of the volatile acidity, because of the total acidity, working mainly with Barbera. Barbera keeps a good acidity in the wine. We decide to bottle, and then the wine remains here in bottle until we decide to sell. So we have space, and we know after so many years that we are working here at La Stoppa that our wines need time to get better, to gain elegance, balance, and so this is an effort that we make with pleasure. I mean, the wine is better staying here. So it's a very simple place, very practical, simple. We have wine, plenty of wine. We won't be thirsty. Okay.
Andiamo su.
See, we go up. So if you have any questions, you can ask us.
Ciao.
Eccoci. Giulia is here too.
Hi. Hello, Giulia. Welcome. Ciao. Come va?
Bene, tutto bene.
Great. We meet.
Eccoci.
Ciao. So, hey, thank you very much. That was amazing. Somebody wants to see Nico's tattoo, but
Have too many. Not enough time.
otherwise, can you talk about the last vintage, this past 2019, and what it was like?
Vuoi dire qualcosa sull'ultima vendemmia?
19.
Fantastico.
Nah.
Annata fresca che ha dato vini che saranno pronti presto. C'è una bella acidità, c'è una gradazione non troppo alta e siamo molto contenti dell'annata. Sarà un ageno un po' più fresco, un po' diverso dal solito, però piacevole, molto interessante quando sarà maturo, quindi non tutto l'ageno farà legno e sarà un'annata un po' diversa. Trebbiolo fantastico.
Do you want to translate, Kevin?
Nico, you're there. Nico, you translate that, please.
Me, okay.
Americano.
He said it was a fantastic year, as you heard many times. A cooler year, the wines will be ready sooner, as he said. Ageno will be different than the other years in the sense that because it's cooler, has more acidity.
Yeah, it's a fresh vintage.
Yeah.
So, and the color also will be much lighter. So yeah, it was a long harvest. It took us 1 month, but we are happy and different. Trebbiolo also is very fresh. We will bottle the 19 soon. And next week we will bottle Giulio's wines and then Trebbiolo.
Elena, somebody asked to explain more why you've decided to till the soil, to turn the soil.
Sì, no, perché le abbiamo fatto vedere che abbiamo comprato la dischiera perché abbiamo deciso di farlo così e ti avevo spiegato in vigna, però vuoi spiegare tu?
Abbiamo deciso quest'anno di lavorare la parte superficiale del terreno in modo da interrare l'erba che si secca naturalmente e anche i piccoli pezzi di sarmenti dell'anno precedente, legnosi, che in questo modo verranno meglio elaborati dal terreno, avremo più sostanza organica. questo dovrebbe abbassare un pochino la gradazione alcolica, però senza stravolgere quello che è il terroir, quella che è la vocazione di questa zona che produce dei vini che hanno un'identità ben precisa.
Ciao Nicola.
Hola.
Hola, maestro. ¿Cómo estás?
Did you get the Kevin? Did you get what Giulio said about
Yes.
the soil?
I'm sorry. I was busy doing other things. I'm sorry. I had to do some technical stuff while he was talking. So if Nico could explain, please.
Yeah,
He said he got it to basically to work the superficial area of the soil in a way that won't deter the identity of the terroir. You can't see it you can't imagine it without seeing it, but imagine the discs that till land to begin with, but imagine them being the size of like a CD. So even after tilling it, when was this, 2 weeks ago? We won't need to mow the grass. You won't have to do as many times going out and cutting the grass to begin with, or cutting any of the vegetation between the rows, without interfering with what the identity of the terroir is to begin with. Which, as Giulio pointed out, is very decisive and very precise at this point.
He was also talking about adding organic material to the soil to add more nutrients to the soil. Would that include nitrogen, azote, also?
Un po' di azoto in più forse con questa
Sostanza organica, azoto organico che deriva dall'erba e dai sarmenti di potatura.
Sì, so yes, organic
Nitrogen.
Organic nitrogen and coming from the grass and coming from the lignina, from the cutting of pruning, from the wooden part of the pruning, no, that releases some nitrogen in the soil. Yes.
Is the machine, is it pulled by the tractor, or is it a machine that you push to do this tilling?
No, it's together with the tractor, behind the tractor. It's like, it's called erpice a dischi or dischiera. So they are like round.
Discs, I mean, I'm familiar with them because I'm from Indiana, and you see them when farmers work the any land, they would use this. So this is just used between the vines. It's on a much smaller scale.
Is there a feeling that if you were to till deeper or to plow deeper, that you would lose some of the terroir?
Allora chiede se la sensazione, cioè noi pensiamo che se andiamo più in profondità si perde un po' di caratteristiche del terroir.
Or maybe the culture too, the cultura.
Non ha senso lavorare in profondità al terreno, una cosa che non ha senso.
Cioè Giulio said that why working deeper, no? Why we should work deeper? There is no meaning of working deeper the soil unless to cut the grass and give this nitrogen organic
Substance.
substance. But working the soil in order to have it cleaner, or here there is mainly clay, so if it rains, it can be a big problem if you have the soil worked. No, you can't get into the vineyards, and working more, you break something that you were looking for many years. There are all those. There is no
It's not compacted soil.
Sì, ci sono tutti i lombrichi, come si chiamano i lombrichi? Worms? No,
Sì.
Worms?
Yeah.
There are very big worms that
earthworms
that works from many years, and so that the soil is not compact, because if you dig, there are a lot of like tunnels, small tunnels that are deep.
Doug, yeah. So there's no point in destroying that. It's already been there.
That answers the question. Could you talk a little bit about the evolution of your use of sulfur in the wines over the course of time that you and Giulio have been making the wines?
Ok, vuoi sapere l'uso dei solfiti negli anni, come è cambiato, eccetera. Aspetta che questo... So Giulio this year are 40 years that has been working at La Stoppa. So he started in 1980. Sulfites, I have to say, you have always used very few sulfites. Hai usato sempre pochi sulfiti nel vino. Yes. Our wines are they have always been structured with long maceration. Mid 80s, we were doing shorter maceration, but still wines with structure, so very stable. So there wasn't really a need to use a lot of sulfites. We probably used a little more in the whites when we were using, when we were making whites without skin contact, so with Sauvignon, but still not very much. No, Giulio, non ne ho mai usato tanto, ho detto magari un po' nei bianchi quando non facevamo macerazione. E nel Trebbiolo, yes, we add some sulfites in Trebbiolo, but just before bottling. Hai mai usato, cioè usavi un po' di metabisulfito sulle uve durante la vinificazione?
Negli anni, fino a metà anni 90.
Yes. So he was using sulfites during vinification until mid-90s, and then just before bottling. Now we use just before bottling, just for Trebbiolo and for Vigna del Volta. A little bit. Yes.
You explained the name of La Stoppa as being a ludi, a toponymium. Did the name come from a time when it was a fabrica, when it was a bigger, when it was a more wider farm community, or it's always just been the name of the particular hillside that you're on?
Chiede per dell'origine del nome della Stoppa. No, actually we don't know why it is called La Stoppa. Stoppa means straw in English. It's the name of the place. So the address is Località Stoppa, as many places in Europe, in Italy. But the origins of the name, I don't know. It's lost in time. I don't know. Like Macchiona is also Liodi, but I don't know.
Perfect.
But
I was asking, Nicolas here, still here, and I was asking if there's any questions from anybody. I would like to know myself, we talked about the Pais vines and the 150-year-old Pais vines. What type of yields do the Pais at that age give in quintals or in hectoliter?
So we have to think it's about, in 1 hectare we should have, like, depends, you know, it's not really regular here, the planting, because so I should have like 4,000 plants. It's about it depends on the vintage. This year, as I told you, 2020 it was very, very low yield, and it was like 800 grams per plant average. Yeah. So in terms of liters, with 1 hectare, 1,000 kilo, and we don't press the grapes at the end to not extract as I said before, the very rustic tannin of the Pais that it could make more rustic than it is. And so in terms of these 4,000 kilo, we go to 2,300 liters, something like that, with 1 hectare.
Okay. And for you and for Elena and Giulio when they're there, how involved in the farming or the practices that the farmers are doing from the vineyards where you're buying the grapes? What's your involvement with that?
I mean, this is we started in 2016 here in Coronel de Maule, and we looking for the right farmer was not a really easy thing to us, because trying to explain what we do, because there is culture, as in Italy it is, and it's grape. Sometimes these plots of Pais are not very big plots. You know, we are in Chile, so the industry of the wine is so big. So I don't know, there are some wineries 500 hectares, they plant 500 hectares very easily, and blah blah blah. So these vineyards belongs most of the time to families. So it's a part of their life. So it's 1 hectare, 2 hectares, or something like that. And it's a part of their life. It means that they have animals, they have vegetables, they produce, they have horses, and blah blah blah. And I mean, trying to make a medium long term work, and they understand to give value. Of course, we pay the grape when we arrived here. We selected the vineyard, and soon we paid the grapes 4 times market price, just to tell them, look, you have something that is big value. It's not just, you know, part of. It's not like the grape or like the lemon or something like that. Of course, with time, we got involved more and more, but also it happened to us that the first vineyard, when someone else came and paid the same amount of money we were paying, telling him, I don't care for you to use the horse to work the land, you can put chemicals, you can put Roundup. And the guy said yes, because, you know, of course, working with the horse is more expensive. So he came to me and said, you know, they pay me like this and that, but I said, okay, stop. And we go, and I was starting looking for a different farmer. Now we have a good farmer as a family, and they were involved in terms that we're going to start pruning in June. So now I will go there. When you find a very good farmer that works his land with like a family land, they do very short pruning. You know, I help, but I don't put myself in it, because when the farmer is good, and you know, there is a lot of tradition in it, and if it's done very good, it's done very good. Then we will start after this, because rainy season will come mid-June, so we will start working the land with the horse, and hopefully we will do it twice. First time to, as I told, Maule, it's dry, and the soil is granitic. And so the first time to move a little bit more deep to help the rain get in and stay. And the second time, the same as Stoppa did, more superficial, when spring will come, and to move the grass and the flowers and so on, to give more organic help to the. So we are involved with them. Yes, of course.
That's great, Nick. So I'm going to back up. We're running out of time. I'll back up with just one more question. I think a lot of people don't really, a lot of people here don't really know how the Pisador project came about. So if Elena could explain, thanks, Nick. If Elena could explain how she came to put she and Giulio and you, Nick, came to put the Pisador project together, that would be great.
So my mom moved to Chile in '95, My father passed away in 91. I joined the estate in 91, and then she went to visit a friend in Chile, and then she stayed. So we have this long relationship with Chile, and she bought land in 99 in Tomenello, where Nicola is and where the bodega is. And so I had the chance to go every year, and we have very close, very good friends. And then in 2015, I had the chance to stay for 1 month. And talking with Louis Antoine, I had this idea. Giulio was coming also often to Chile, and everyone was irrigating and just Cabernet and Merlot. And then we were saying, but there are very old plants. There isn't phylloxera. There is no irrigation, and these plants are still alive. We are talking about 150, 200 years old plants. That is a treasure that nobody in the world has this. And so talking with Louis Antoine pushed me to start a project there and say, I can help you. We need someone more to talk about a different Chile. And so I went, at that time, Nicola was living in Rio de Janeiro. So coming home, I stopped in Rio and talked to Nicola, that is a very good friend of mine, and said, you want to move from Rio? And what do you think about starting a project in Chile? And that's the way we started.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for this visit. It was great to see you.
Yeah, great.
It was very informative. Sorry for everybody for the technical difficulties. You always prepare for them, and of course, you can never mitigate these circumstances. Anyhow, thank you very much, and it was great to see you guys.
Grazie,
Miss you, and be safe in the opening of Italy by Giulio, and we'll see you soon. I hope sooner than later. Okay.
Yeah, see you soon.
Ciao.
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 Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Ciao.